Once a call is dispatched, every emergency responder is going to be thinking of different things on the way there. They're going to be listening to the information, taking that in. Do they have one victim, two victims? Is it potentially blocking? Weather conditions, the topography, whether it's a curve, whether it's a hill. Is it on a freeway? Is it rush hour?
Can you move it to a safer location? Can you move it to a shoulder? Can you move it off the highway? And that's going to be a better outcome for everyone. You can remove the threat of traffic by moving the incident itself.
After arrival, it's important to establish control of your scene, making sure traffic is directed safely around the scene.
One of the analogies I like to use about traffic is that it's like flowing water. It can be fast, it can be slow, it can be a raging river or a small stream. One of the main things is it's always going to keep coming. So if you just block it, if you just dam it, it's going to go places that you may not want it to go. If you can think about it when you respond, that not only do I have to deal with this incident that I'm at, that I also need to think about what that flow of traffic is behind me and set up in a way that minimizes the chances of additional problems happening.
The first vehicle on scene may need to establish an initial block.
Depending on where the accident is, if it's in the lane, we'll take that lane, particular lane, and we'll turn on all the lights. So basically we become that barrier between the crash and then the traveling public.
If you're the first one on scene, put your emergency vehicle between the incoming traffic and where you're going to be on foot. The problem with most emergency lights is that it's all about saying, here I am, here I am, here I am, but it doesn't give any instruction.
You want to taper people off into a different direction. You're using cones, you're using flares to establish that taper, where it's spread out, just almost like follow the yellow brick road. This is the direction that we want you to go.
In order to set up an effective taper, use traffic cones or flares. Space them apart at approximately 10 pace intervals, directing traffic away from and around the scene.
Remember that cones and flares are not invisible force fields. They're a way to communicate with traffic, a way to tell them to move over and judge their rate of closure as they're coming in.
A lot of the traveling public believes that when you tell them to slow down means going from 60 to 58. We don't want them to go that fast. We want them to get down in the 20s and 30s when they pass through our scene.
Advanced warning is something to give the incoming traffic that first clue, hey, something's about to happen, so that they start paying attention. It can be the signs, it can be as simple as having a squad, somebody with flashing lights on the shoulder before the scene. So from a traffic control perspective, you want to give the incoming traffic enough time and space that they can react safely. 5, 10, 15 seconds before the traffic hits the scene. It's always on the shoulder. Advanced warning needs to be on the shoulder, it's not on the lane.
Every responder, if they're looking for a crash and it's just over the peak of a hill or just beyond a curve, you need to make sure that you get some advance warning and some signage before that curve, before that hill, ASAP. You're looking for it and you had to slam on your brakes. The traveling public doesn't have any idea that there's something beyond that hill, there's something beyond that curve. Advance warning is extremely important, and that's going to be the last vehicle leaving the scene, because you don't want to pull out the advance warning before the incident's completed. Otherwise, people don't know that something's going on up ahead.
First responders can be flaggers. Flagging can be an effective tool on 2-lane roadways, and when one side of the road is blocked and the only option is to allow traffic to come through in groups, you have a flagger at each end of the incident. The first flagger stops all of the traffic, while the second flagger at the other end allows the traffic to pass through. Both of the flaggers need to be in communication with each other. Make sure you still have advanced warning set up ahead of time too. Remember that flagger is going to be in one of the most vulnerable spots. Use the resources that you have. In the metro, we have a lot of options. We have the overhead signboards, we have the first trucks. Greater Minnesota, you're not going to have access to that. Carry the cones, carry the flares. How you use these tools can be very effective. So the first one on scene, number one, park behind the incident. Put something between yourself and the incoming traffic. Be sure you call in to your dispatch and let them know, and that you let your fellow responders know exactly where it is that you are and what the impact is. If you're blocking a lane, if you're not, if you're on the shoulder, make sure everybody's on the same page as far as where it is. Let your other responders know if you want them to park somewhere. Give them instructions on where it is that you want them to go. Next step, setting up the taper is a way to direct traffic where you want them to be. And then marking out the work area. Try to make it as clear as possible so the traffic knows where to go. Set up your advance warning to give them a clue something's about to happen. And then adjust, monitor and adjust as necessary. So the components, so the basic concepts, so advanced warning, this is the first clue to traffic that something is about to happen. Transition area, this is where you're moving people from where they want to be to where you want them to be. Buffer space is an open area between your cones and your actual equipment. This is an area so that if somebody does come into your scene and isn't paying attention and locks up their brakes, all they're doing is hitting cones. Shadow vehicle, something big and heavy enough to stop a high-speed vehicle from coming into the scene. More space after that, because if a fire truck gets hit by a semi, it's going to move. So you need to have a little bit more space in there, so if it does move, it's not hitting anybody. And then you've got your work area where the actual crash is. This is where the pedestrians are. And then staging area, it could be the ambulance, could be tow trucks, farther enough downstream.
All responders have to communicate, coordinate, cooperate when they're on scenes. Dispatchers play a very important piece of communication. First, they let us know what information they have. They continue to update that information. We could probably all do a better job of giving more information to the dispatchers. Dispatchers are typically trained to repeat what they hear. So maybe the incoming agency didn't hear the chief on scene provide some information about what they had. The dispatcher plays an important role there because they can then repeat that information.
If there's something that changes at the scene, face-to-face communication is extremely important. Because traffic is like flowing water, it's important to remember that when you are going to clear a scene, it's much like a faucet. You want to open that faucet slowly. You can't open a lane of traffic to get additional traffic moving and not notify everybody that's working on the scene.
Emergency responders, when they show up on scene, they need to do what they need to do to keep themselves safe, to keep other responders safe, and also keep the people that they're there to help safe. It doesn't matter what discipline it is, what agency it is, you want everybody to have a round-trip ticket.